I think we're actually in the groove right now. We're in the groove. I think we're in the groove. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the feed, give it a little mic check, and see what I go on. See what I go on, innit? See what I go on. See what I go on, dude. Okay. No, what am I doing here? Alright. Senior said, "You must be mad." Come and say, "Hey, officer, you must be mad. He only smokes cigarette and strictly shag." Babylon say, "You not like ganja man, but we bring the foreign currency upon the island." Oh no. What? Yo. Live viewers in the building. Hit the thumbs. Check out StreamYard and get a £10 discount. Man, you need to make this streaming thing a lot more cheaper. To be honest, I want to stream at least 4 or 5 days a week. I'm not paying them all that money, man. I'm looking at another streaming application. But it takes a lot of reading, which I'm lazy. I'm lazy. I'm lazy. I'm lazy. Yeah, you're lazy. I'm lazy. Stop being lazy. Yeah, get it done. Right. Sorry about this, people. Right. So we're gonna have a nice conversation. And you know something, right? I take things the wrong way. I take things the wrong way. Restream is one alternative, yeah? Okay. Guzzy, what's good? Bruce Gas, what's good? Beauty the Pencil, what's good? D.O.B. Newley, what's up? I offend a lot of people, and I take it the wrong way. Oh, this, that. But you know what it is, man? You know what I mean? They can't help. They can't help it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the conversations and some of the monologues are so good that they get caught up in it because it's so good. So I don't stop taking offense to it. But at the same time, you know what I mean, I'm gonna say what I want to say. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say what I want to say. People have got their own platforms where they can say what they want to say. Why can't I say what I want to say? Come on now. Here's what it is. So we haven't got too long. We haven't got too long, people. We ain't got too long. Yeah, palaver is what it is, Beauty of the Pencil. It's palaver. But they both seem pretty manipulative. That's what I'm seeing. They both seem pretty manipulative. Senior with the emotional blackmail, although I don't think he could help himself. And you know what it is? He's seen his little boy, Christopher. Christopher. Like when the Eubank participated in one of the first reality TV exercises where they had the cameras in their house and we saw the day-to-day life of their family. One of the first of a kind program, right? Was it At Home with the Eubanks or whatever it was called? This is when Senior was married to Karen, who we mentioned. I didn't teach you that. Did I teach you that? No. Yeah. Did Karen teach you that? No. And what it is, yeah, young Chris was a very innocent boy. Very, very innocent boy. Brought up in Brighton, which isn't hood. I've went clubbing up Brighton. And not in no pause Diddy type clubs, right? I've partied up Brighton. Brighton, not gangster, right? Not that London is gangster. London is just a bit rough, yeah? And Chris Junior, the beauty of the pencil said manipulative. Yes, yes, yes. Chris didn't used to talk a lot. His dad used to talk a lot. But what Chris did in all that time, Chris took it all in. Chris is not an idiot. I realized I learnt a lot about Chris Eubank Jr. today. Today. I learnt a lot about Chris Eubank Jr. today when I put it all together. Chris observed his dad, how his dad could command a room with his poems, with his idioms, with his observations and his quotes from Rudyard Kipling, amongst many great literary greats, Byron, poets, and all that good stuff. But Chris don't do that. Junior don't go into all the Byron and Rudyard Kipling quotes. He doesn't go into all that. Because Senior is an old school showman. Senior needs to take his YouTube channel and stop covering boxing. That's what Senior should do. Senior should get into antiques, old cars that need renovating, and stuff like that. And he would kill it. He would absolutely kill it. Senior is too good for boxing. That's his problem. Senior doesn't fit in with boxing today. He did what he had to do as a boxer. Yeah? And his efforts will always be remembered. He's one of the most iconic British boxers ever. It is what it is. But Junior's not going to get into all the poetry, right? Junior is from the era of grime and drill. Even though he didn't live that, he done his little gang thing in Brighton when he was fist fighting and whatnot. And in his own words, he'd go back to private school the next day and go back to a mansion. Yeah? He's not like the kids from Peckham. Yeah? He's not like that. He's not like the kids from Broadwater Farm. Yeah. He's not like the kids from Summer Leighton in Brixton. Big up Somalia time still. So rude boys, I'm telling you, boy, that's old school bricks. Yeah, it's still going now, but them old school Summer Leighton dudes, he wasn't like them. They're proper roadman. And Chris has some of that in him. Plus, he spent a lot of time in America. But he's well spoken, isn't he, Chris? So Chris understood that once he gets his dad out of the picture, because he threw his dad out of the camp. Oh, I can do all what you're doing, but in my way. Because now, like I said, right? This is. I mean, I'm glad to let people share the hangout with me, but it's my hangout, and I'm going to say what I want to say. As a senior citizen, I'm entitled at this stage of my life to say what I want to say without pushback from people who think they know more than I do. You're welcome to use your platform to say what you want on your platform. A lot of working class people are very impressed by middle class people, or they're dazzled by them, or they pretend they hate them. And Chris has been able to hold court at the press conferences, shut down Eddie Hearn, which is basically one of the jewels in his crown. He's played an absolute blinder so far. And sometimes he was just rambling on in the press conference, not really saying anything. But he's got a good sounding timbre in his voice, isn't it? It sounds impressive. And it's something that the old school black people would try to tell other black people. Is teach your children not to speak too much slang. Make sure they can switch it up when need be. If they can only talk, well, yeah, and all this, whatever the slangs are and all that. If that's all you can do, you get me, yeah, this, that, and if that's all you can do, you're heading for self-destruction. You're heading for self-destruction. What are you talking about, Beats? Junior got it off the mud. What are you talking about? When did I say? What are you talking about exactly? But anyway, Junior has done a great job making the promoters from even though like he's going to have to pay a big portion of his purse out to Frank Warren. When he started with that scumbags thing, that's where the campaign started from. Scumbags. Frank Warren, you're a scumbag. Eddie, you're a scumbag. Niece, Callie, you're scumbags. That was, hey, listen, it caught attention, didn't it? I mean, who was he? He was fighting Zerameta. He caught more attention in the UK than Bivol and Batabiev because he articulated. While the likes of Solomon Dakers was an October Red, and October was trying to tell Solomon, yo, you got to learn how to talk up for yourself. Because you know what will happen to Solomon Dakers? Yeah? He's going to get to a certain age where he's going to understand that his opportunities are running out. And then he's going to want to talk. There's no, you're taking Junior's side, and he doesn't know you. If Chris, you do understand, yeah? If Chris Junior saw you, right, he'd turn his face up you. He'd turn his face up at you with disdain. Do you understand who Chris Junior is? So take his side, because I haven't took a side. You're taking sides. If Conor Benn saw me, he'd be looking, who the fuck are you? So who's you mean? You need to take your children's side. Go take your rent side and your bills. Take that side. There's no sides here, bro. So if you come in here looking for a fight, or I could go against Beats, I could go against Junior, I could go against. That's not here, bro. That's not here. This ain't Gary Glitter. You want to be in my gang, bro? Yeah. So you take your sides. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. Hit the like though. If you can hit the like, it's all good. Junior articulated in that press conference, he got more headlines than Bivol and Beterbiev, who are both pound for pound modern day greats. And he's fighting a career welterweight for no title, no belts. Then when it came to the press conference for him and Conor, played an absolute blinder. Played an absolute blinder. And he's been doing a lot of manipulating, and he's been very good at it because of that voice. He's got his dad's voice, and it makes people listen, even if they're talking a load of crap. Teach your kids not just to talk slang if they're from the inner city. Teach them how to talk both ways. And he shut Eddie down. Eddie, you're a scumbag. Just like Frank Warren, you're a scumbag. Conor, you had it all. They wanted you to succeed. I wanted all that. No, Chris doesn't give a crap out. You think Chris gives a damn if the British pub likes him? That's what he's putting, because he wants them to hit the remote and purchase the pay-per-view. He wants that. He wants to break over 1 million pay-per-view buys. He doesn't care about no British public. Chris, I'm not going to say it was Jamie TKV from the ends. He said Chris Eubank will just blank you when he sees you, just with disdain. Just look at you with absolute disdain, like you were shit. Hey, let me tell you something. I don't have no problem with that. I don't have no problem with that at all. That don't bother me. That don't make me look on him any worse. That's who he is. He's not obligated to be friendly and cuddly to anyone. As long as he looks after Sebastian's kid, he's good. That's what, Chris is trying to make money for himself so he can hit the poker table, drive his nice cars. He's got a beautiful flat, wherever it's located, a beautiful flat. Beautiful. And he's living the dream. And today, I had a newfound respect for his hustle. I had a newfound respect, bruh. Chris is on his game. Chris is on his game. Who was he speaking to about his fractured relationship with his dad? Was it Stephen from the Lions? And I can't remember who it was. Right? And it sounded like he was pouring his heart out. And then I revisited it recently. Some of it was coming from a place of hurt. But he was using it as part of his shtick as well. He was in thespian mode. And he's really good at it. Hey, Mohammed, calm down, yeah, because I will throw you out, yeah, because I'm not really I'm doing these hangouts, right, just to take my mind off certain things. But if you keep fucking me, I'm just gonna throw you out because I'm not in a good mood. I'm trying to stay in a good mood, but if you keep fucking about, I'll throw you out. It's not a problem either, yeah. Chris is really good. Guzzy said, I don't think Junior likes being hated, in my opinion. He's mentioned it a few times in interviews that the public hate him. He doesn't care. Guzzy. Guzzy, let me tell you something. He don't care. Chris is not like the average kid, British kid, right? Chris stays in America. He stays in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, wherever he pleases. He's not restricted to England. Yeah? Chris doesn't care. His friends are in the poker rooms or wherever they are. Chris has got his circle, he's got his ecosystem. He is not reliant on the love of the British public. The British public are gullible, like I was saying on Twitter. They believe, yeah, you see, Chris, he's one of us. He hates Connor and thing. And that's what they're like. And let's see, the British public, the same British public, yeah, who kicked down the pediatrician's door when they were looking for the paedophile, will often lead witch hunts against people. And a lot of people join in and they don't even know why they're doing it. Chris knows they're mug-offs. Chris knows from when they were booing him when he was fighting Billy Joe Saunders. He knows when the likes of Billy Joe Saunders led the charge when Chris was fighting Nick Blackwell with Tyson Fury. Do you remember? They were going on like thugs. They were going on like thugs, and they could say whatever they want. Yeah, they were going on like thugs. And Chris defiantly went to Wembley Arena, and I remember when he threw that flurry when he was in exchange for Nick Blackwell, and he saw them, and then he just waved his hands at them. I said, hey, listen, he's got a lot of bottle. The boy has got a lot of bottle and a lot of courage. He went to the Echo Arena and did it in Liverpool. And let me tell you, right, if you think Liverpool is a joke, Liverpool ain't a joke, bro. Them people, they're not a joke. He went there and did it. He went to Turkey when he fought Avni Yildirim, and they tried to intimidate Chris and his entourage. They intimidated some of his entourage. Chris just stood there emotionless and then knocked out Yildirim in the fight. Yeah. I Am Untouchable said he is a narcissist who can't take his son not having him manage his career. He is so selfish. All he wants to be is the center of attention in the media. Very sad. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Senior is a manipulator. He's a manipulator. And he doesn't like that his son has become a bigger manipulator than he is. And whereas Senior flitted his money away on stupidness. You know what Senior used to do? He used to bath in Perrier water. How much did that cost? Do you remember Perrier water? The fizzy, sparkling, is it mineral water? Perrier. He used to bath in it. So how much bottles were to take one bath in a bottle of Perrier? How much bottles would that take? Right? How much bottles of Perrier would you need to fill a bath? And he spent his money very frivolously. And you see, the thing is, yeah, Chris started life as a middle class kid in a mansion. Then Senior went bankrupt, spending his money stupidly. Then Junior ended up, seeing the other side of life. His dad shipped him out to America with the Caucasian woman. That's where Junior picked up boxing. And Junior, he respects his old man, loves his old man. But he don't want to be like his old man. So I'm not going to flit away my money. Although he better be careful with the gambling. But Junior will do whatever it takes to maximize what he's going to get paid. He'll do whatever it takes. Whereas Eubank wouldn't have threw the egg at his opponent. Chris did it. Junior did it. Junior did it, bro. Kieran Malcolm said, Beach, you're right. I was sitting about 12 rows behind Saunders and the Furies during the Blackwell fight. He had no fear and loved mocking them whilst thumping up Blackwell. I remember it, Kieran. I remember it. I remember it. I remember it. I remember it. No gum shields and Beats. I thought you said bottle of Don Perignon still expensive. I can't afford the bath from a bottle of Volvic. Exactly. 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 You know, I don't know what else he was spending his money on, but he went bankrupt. He did declare bankruptcy. Kieran Malcolm says, I'll advise everyone to look at Eubank Junior's new £2 million mansion in Dubai. It's inspirational. Oh, I bet it is. I bet it is. I bet it is. He's a hustler. Chris, listen, say what you want. You might not like him or this, that. He's a hustler. One of the best as well. One of the best. And it was when I was doing this video today, I was looking at it and I said, wow, Chris is slick. Chris is slick. And he's good. Slick. I'm untouchable. He said he may affect his son badly going into the Conor fight. How can he talk all that nonsense in public? The guy is a Jew. Hey, listen, he can't affect Junior. Are you crazy? Affect Junior. Guzzy, stories of poker debts are BS then. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I've heard he owes Neymar money from gambling debts or something. I don't know. He can't affect Junior. He can't affect Junior. He can't affect Junior. Junior could only Junior can affect him if he stays on the poker table and hanging in dens of iniquity with all types of strumpets as they call them. You know what I mean? And harlots. Yeah. No, he can't affect him. He can't. It's just Junior's 35 years of age. He's not little Christopher no more. He can't affect him. He can't affect him. Yeah. Chris lost his brother. He lost his brother. He got knocked out by Liam Smith. Yeah. You can't affect him right now. He controls the show now. There's no Eubank Senior. There's no room for Senior in the act no more. This is the Chris Eubank Junior show. And this is how we're going to do it. Yeah? Chris has been toughened up. Life has toughened up Chris. And all that hatred from the fans cheering against him. Part of Chris has turned to ice. He's turned to ice. Nah, listen, it may have affected him at one time. It's not going to affect him. Not in the Conor Benn fight anyway. Listen, we all affected, bruh. We're all affected. We're all affected by our upbringings and relationships with friends, family, dads, and mums. But he's not going to be affected for no Conor Benn fight. You got to be out of your mind. How do you know who he loves and what he loves? How do you know? How do you know? You know nothing. You're not in the family. How do you know? He's manipulating his dad as much as he thinks his dad's manipulating him. How do you know? Chris is not no vulnerable person, bro. Chris is not no vulnerable person. Chris ain't not no vulnerable person. Chris has grown up now. This ain't little Christopher. He threw his dad out of the camp, bro. He threw him out. The only thing he wants his dad there is for more attention to the fight. So more people will purchase pay-per-views. And the pot will get bigger. More money in his pocket. His dad called him a charlatan. He agreed with Simon Jordan. Junior ain't got nowhere. Some people are tougher than what you guys think, man. You think that everyone just crumbles. You think everyone crumbles. Yeah? My relationship with my dad was quite fractious. And when he thought that he could manipulate me, he found out how mentally strong I was as well. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Because he said Junior is very calculated, I would say. He's definitely not weak-minded. Yeah, of course not. He's worried about his dad when he's got mansions in Dubai and property in America and the UK. He's not worried about his dad. Not worried about his dad. He's got his own circle. His dad's got his own circle. Kieran said, I find both Eubanks hilarious. Their comedy got. Hey, listen, their relationship's damaged. It will never go back to little Christopher and Daddy. It's never going back there. It's never going back there. So what you say? Talking about so what? So what? So what negativity? So what? I had a bad relationship with my dad. I'm still here. So what? I had the total opposite relationship with my mum. She passed away in 2022. I'm still not over it. Still not over it. It is what it is. I carry on. I move on. It's no big deal. Oh, I wanted to ask, like, what are some of your relationships like with your dad specifically, or even your mother? Do you have good relationship? Who has a great relationship with their dad? I'll be very interested. Or bad relationships. Don't go too deep into it. If it's bad, don't go too deep into it. Don't go too deep, if you don't mind. I'll be interested to hear them. Listen. I can tell you're young, all right? Untouchable. I know you're young. I know you're young. Let me tell you where I'm coming from, right? Let me just tell you where I'm coming from. Because a lot of people, they discuss things with me and they're not considering where I'm coming from, what they didn't see, what doesn't happen in their existence in this time and place we are in right now, right? I'm coming from an era where kids were beaten on the road by their parents, and it was a regular thing in the Caribbean community. Oh, you can't say that. Listen, I'm from Tottenham, bro. And parents, not all parents, basically dragged their kids up, didn't raise them, they dragged them up, and the kids just had to do their best with it as they could. So it's not that big a deal, bro. Not that big a deal, bro. Yeah? His dad called him a disgrace. Wow, big deal. Kieran Malcolm said, losing a parent is hard beats. Lost my mum in December 2007 when I was 18. Wow, that's young. That's young, Kieran. And you haven't spoken to your dad since June 2008. You miss your mum every day. And I never speak to my dad again. Yeah, yeah. It can get there. And you see, you know what I mean? Like people say, well, you could patch it up with your dad. I don't know. This is Kieran's experience, bro. This is Kieran's experience. Kieran knows that. You know what I mean? This is what he's saying. And I have to respect that. I'm not going to try and ad lib like I know Kieran. This is Kieran's reality. He lost his mum very young. Very young. You know what I mean? And sometimes relationships with parents, with siblings, they are fractured. You always get people, oh, you should try and talk to me. You should try and... Shut the fuck up. I respect it. I respect what Kieran said. It probably took a lot for him to say what he said. And I respect what he said. Big up Anthony Mackin. Big yourself up. He says, happy Easter to you and your family, Beats. Much appreciated. Yeah, where the bun there, Andy? You got the bun? You got the bun, yeah? You got the Easter bun. See, the thing is, yeah, see the Easter bun, yeah? You have to eat it with the proper cheese in it. It's got to be eaten with the proper Jamaican cheese. You know what I'm saying? But hey, Jamaican cheese is expensive. But all Jamaican food is expensive from over. Big up Anthony. Yeah, man. Yeah, parenting is tough. Oh, you got the HTTB Easter bun? Oh, good. Has to be done, bro. Has to be done. Yeah, you see that? I had to buy the yam after I spoke to you, Anthony. I had to get the punya. The punya yam, you know. Teeth, unexpensive, you know. Teeth. Like Roy Jones. Roy Jones came to a sticky situation with his dad where the beatings had to stop. The beatings had to stop. And Roy, I'm not going to quote what he said because I don't have the quote, right? But it got to a very serious situation. His dad used to trade it. It is what it is. This is real. This is why I opened it up. This is why I opened up the discussion. But I don't want to go too heavy into it because I know some of my friends they have great relationships with their dad. I am untouchable, dude. You're too involved. You're too involved. That you see what your problem is. You're too involved, and you don't know. You've never lived a day in the Eubanks household. But look at you. You're talking like flipping. You know what I mean? You're Chris's brother or his brethren. My God. Lux said, didn't Roy's dad kill his dog? Listen, his dad weren't no joke. His dad used to box, innit? Yeah. And Roy got to like a bit. See like Roy Jones, like people are see Roy Jones. Yeah, people like when we see at the tail end of Roy Jones's career when it went really bad, and he kept fighting. People saying, "Oh, Joe, you need to retire, man. You need to retire." But they don't see. The thing is, yeah, I watched Roy Jones's career from when he was a young kid, from when he fought the Hebrew Israelite early in his career, from when he fought the ringer in his ring. Was it Darwin or whatever his name was? Roy's upbringing has turned a certain part of him into ice. Roy's not scared of getting hurt in the ring. He's not scared. That's why he kept fighting on. And Roy's nearly around the same age group as me. And a lot of people see Bruce is older than me. See, Bruce knows a different world from what a lot of the youngsters do. Because Bruce is a little older than me. So when people are talking about what they know, the world was a lot different in me and Bruce's times and your times. A lot different. And parenting was different, bro. Parenting was a lot different. Yeah, you guys didn't go to school when the teachers could give you a good hiding. And I'm not just talking about corporal punishment, yeah? I went to an all-boys school where the teachers used to batter kids, give them actual beat downs, and I saw it, witnessed it. Actual beat downs with both hands and kicks, foot, and everything. It is what it is. Yeah. The Russian geezer, Kasanjin, when he just loses his temper, he'd just beat the fuck out of you. He'd beat the fuck out of you. And the Jewish one, Mr. Flax. When they made the song about it. Because the Flash Gordon film comes, Flax, he beats everyone ever. Yeah, he was just vicious. He was just vicious. Until the Scottish boy bought his dad in, Jimmy. Yeah, he got mess with Jimmy. And the Scottish man came for him and he shit like Flax shit himself. He was running all about the place like a bitch when a real man come for him. That's what schooling was like. That's what schooling was like. So imagine what it was before my time. If I think that was bad, imagine what it was like before my time. When they used to have boxing in the curriculum. Yeah, a lot of the dads, see the thing is, right, because mothers run the households these days, but them days in the UK, dad make you go in the boxing ring, bro. My dad, that's what my dad, when when I was growing up, when I was, what, 10 or 11, my dad saw, hey, this boy's going to turn out P-U-double-S-Y. And he made me go boxing. He made me go. I didn't have no choice. I wasn't like, oh, I want to go. Nah, I had to go. Different world, bro. Different world, different standards. I'm not saying kids don't have pressure these days. This is the modern world, but it's a different time. Eubank Senior, Junior, has learnt to become pretty manipulative because he saw his dad was a great showman, and he saw how his dad could hold a room and make grown people be in awe. And he's doing the same thing, but in his own style. And he's just hitting his groove. See, the thing is, right? Let me tell you. See, let me tell you about when I'm talking about this manipulation. I know this topic, yeah, right? When Chris Senior came back to the UK, maybe like 83, 84, had a dozen or so amateur fights in America. He came to the UK, back to the UK. He was born in Peckham, yeah? He was in the Bronx. Went to the Bronx, came back. And Eddie Hearn touched on it a little bit. He says, oh, everyone thinks he's been talking like this all the time. No, he didn't used to talk like that. When Eubank came back from America, he had a bit of an American accent, a bit of a Bronx, New York accent. And his manager was an individual named Keith Miles, I believe. You can Google it, Keith Miles. And they held a little opening, a little kind of party where they were going to try and, schmooze some management, a deal, a promoter deal, or, get some finances. And Keith was basically promoting Chris. And they said, yeah, where was Chris again? Chris was, and he said, I'm not used to having all these amount of white people around me because he was in a heavily populated black area in the Bronx. That's what he said, in more of an American or whatever, more street accent. And then when he realized, as a black fighter in the UK, that he needs a shtick, that's when he came up with the monocles and the joppers and the accent. And then it's not he's being fake. He's grew into that character. This is who he wanted to be. He grew into that character and he became an enigma. Like probably the most ubiquitous would be the word. Sports star in the country, barring none. There was a Eubank world title fight on every week. Every week. Lux, or he's trying to imagine Eubank with a Bronx accent. Oh man. Kieran, he said that beats. Would you still have fallen in love with boxing if your father didn't force you to take up the sport? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Anthony says Senior is a chameleon. He simply adapted to his environment. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's what he did. He adapted to his environment and made the best of it. And when I look at Chris Eubank, an old West Indian dude once told me that if you're dealing with racist people against you because you're black, if you show them that you're just as much interested in British culture as they are, British traditions as they are, that it throws them off. And that's what Eubank did with a lot of people. He threw them off. He threw them off. But some people, like I'm going to say, listen, like I said, this is my hangout. I'm going to do it on my terms, my conditions, my way or the highway, right? A lot of black British people, they try to be Afrocentric, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they try to do it from an American perspective, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It just don't work, and they end up sounding ridiculous, you know. they'll be quoting racism, and then they're talking about George Floyd. What's George Floyd got to do with you? And you live in flipping London. You don't even know the whole story. But Chris, he went straight for the jugular, straight for the aristocracy. He went straight for it. And he wasn't always, let's say, on best terms with the press. You know what I mean? He definitely, like, so it was more out of a curiosity they covered him. But he said it himself. He said, yeah, a lot of them were Colin Hart. He was talking about Colin Hart. He said Colin Hart always used to trash him. Colin Hart always used to trash him, but Chris never got mad about him. He said, yo, he's part of my team. He's part of my team. He's the engine. He's part of the engine that keeps the machine going. Yeah, he spoke about Colin Hart. Yeah, you see, Chris come from a Chris, Nigel Benn, and Michael Watson. They came up in an era where, you know, like you couldn't just start moaning and crying about stuff. You got to get busy. You got to make something happen. Anthony Mackie said, I've watched many of his interviews, and he said that he doesn't like boxing, but the system allows him to live a better way of life through boxing. He did say that boxing is a mug's game. Do you remember that? He said it's a mug's game. Big up Lisa Bells. He said he's definitely eccentric, and that's putting it mildly. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. He's definitely an eccentric. But he came up hard. Yeah, he definitely he tapped into his inner white man. Yeah, he did. He did. He did. He did. He definitely tapped into it. Big up for that, Anthony. Big up for the super chat. Pick yourself up. Yeah. He understood that if you're gonna live in a country like this, right, you have to know how to maneuver a couple ways. Because you see, when he speaks now, the Jamaican comes out, and then you go back to the aristocratic voice, but the Jamaican comes out. So he can speak both ways. And that's how you got to be able to flex. You got to be able to speak both ways. Don't get trapped into all these people that I'm keeping it whatever you keep. Don't get caught up into that, bro. Don't get caught up into that. Learn how to speak a couple of ways, if possible. You know what I mean? I don't have the best grammar, but I don't opt. You know what I mean? I don't always opt. You get me. Even when I was young, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Lisa said, I haven't seen anyone wearing a monocle since I was a child until Eubank. Yeah, Eubank, like that truck he used to drive. And then he went on that campaign against the Iraq war. He was just different. He's just different. And Chris, like, you know what was telling about Chris was when he broke down about being the middle class kid, then losing it all, and how he was trying to figure out how he could get it back, and how he'd never, go back to living in just regular housing. That was telling. That was telling. You could see how much that period troubled him in his life. Junior. Mateus says Eubank Senior is the marketing king. He is. Definitely the marketing king. With Ben was less airs and graces, isn't it? It was just who he was. Just a total contrast. East London. Ilford. That was the days. I tell you what, yeah. As a Londoner, I kind of lucked up living in Tottenham. In some ways, I lucked up living in Tottenham, and some ways not. Because certain parts of South London, like, where did David A come from? Bermondsey, Plumstead, all them places. You have to deal with a lot of racism. In Ilford, you have to deal with a lot of direct racism. But Tottenham, the all black, although people call it a ghetto, it's a suburb. That's what it is, really. Even like, all the areas they're calling ghetto in the UK, they're suburbs, but they've been ghettoized to a degree. Yeah? You have to deal with serious racism. Bermondsey, where David Hay grew up, yeah, pretty bad. I was in all black area. And like, yeah, I want to tell my story. I don't need no one to tell my story for me, or they don't like what I'm saying. I don't need that. Because growing up in a predominantly Caribbean area, I found out a lot of stuff about where I grew up a couple of years back on Facebook. I joined this group, and it was about Tottenham. And basically, I was learning about old landmarks of, where certain shops. Like, oh man, that's where I'm there. That's Bruce Grove, and you're learning all this stuff like where the shops used to be and how it used to run and thing. And even now, I'm part of the group, and I used to love being on the group. I don't go on the group page no more. You know why I don't go on the group page? The reason I don't go on the group page is because one day, one of the people who contribute on the page, him and a few others spoke about Tottenham. These are white men, older than me. And they said before the Jamaicans got there in the 60s, Tottenham was a very nice working class area. But when the Jamaicans got there, this is their words, they turned it into a ghetto, into a slum. And it fucked with me. It really effed with me when they started saying that. And I didn't argue with them. See, that's what problem with a lot of people. You like argue, you like argue. I didn't argue. I listened to what they say. I listened to their quotes, and I listened to what they said. And what you have to understand is areas like Kilburn, they became slums for a lot of the people who came here on the Windrush ship, and Irish people become slums. Where the police would, talk to them like crap and give you a beating and a load of stuff like that. And like, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not coming from where a lot of people, you know what I mean? Like, here's what it was, yeah, yeah. Kieran is from Kilburn originally. Virtuoso says white plight, white flight. Yeah, yeah. The way they spoke about the migrants from the Caribbean, it was it was hard to it was hard to hear. But I have to listen to what they're saying and look into things myself because I grew up in this place that they were saying the Caribbean's destroyed. And yeah, there wasn't there was a lot of positive um, there was a lot of positive people, but there was a lot of negative there as well. There was a lot of negative. Mateus said, "I'll be honest, I don't understand why whites complain about the Caribbean English forming slums in like Brixton. There's a reason for it. They were bought as cheap labor workhorses. Of course, they ended up in slums." That is true. That's not the only reason a lot of migration was ordered. The birth rates were dropping pretty bad as well. And a lot of people denied this, but the birth rates were dropping very, very, very badly in the UK after that Second World War. Big up Chris Mateus. How long we got? Boy, I've done an hour already, Chris, to be honest with you. I'm gonna I'll let Chris come on. Let me Chris let me what Chris has got to say on it and I'll jump off. I'm gonna give Chris 10 minutes. That's my dude still. Yeah, Kieran. I know lots of my people don't speak to their own. I know some people don't speak to their mother. To be honest with you, we don't get to have it all ideal all pretty and thing. We don't get that. Neither does Chris Eubank or anyone. Like Connor Benn has got a great relationship with his dad, although his dad was very tough on him. Kieran said, "I've now moved to an area which was a no go for black people back in the day." Oh, Eltham, yeah, Eltham. What's it like now, Kieran? What's it like? Big up Chris Mateus.
Uncle Beats and Rhymes, how you doing, brother? How's everything?
Yeah, man, I'm here, bro. I'm here. I'm here, just talking to the people, having a good hangout, real topics, some
What?
real boxing, some real life.
Yeah, yeah, man. I love the real life talks, man. I know you're a very, very particular person, and you come from the old school, the old country. So a lot of things you keep close to the chest, man. But when you do decide to let it out, it's always very informative.
Yeah, like
So,
see what I'm talking when I'm saying like and listen, it's not just Caribbean, even like when there were more dads in their white households, them white kids got beaten as well. They got beaten because dads used to run households like with a it weren't like today where I don't need a man of it. No, dads ran things, bro. They ran
masculinity was masculinity, and why do you guys think you were raised a certain type of way and able to interact in the world, irrespective of the trouble that you guys got in? You guys utilized logic. You guys were understanding that critical thinking skills and being an individual was important. You understood respect. You understood the things that you say had weight. And if you weren't circumspect, that you can get your head blown off, you can get stabbed or beat up pretty badly. So they raised you to be men. They try to beat that out of you. I'm, you know how fortunate I am to have parents that was born the years that they were born, but
yeah.
late 50s, or late 50s and the late 60s. Come on, man. I wouldn't trade that shit for the world. You know why? It reared me in the old country. I got out of line. I got my ass beat as I should. Trust me. And knowing and living in New York and living in America, I would not change my rearing for anything because that white flight, that racism, that they talk about is this. These people realize we weren't strong enough to commingle with people that we didn't know, and we felt inferior because these people brought their own style, their own swag, their own personality, and they couldn't deal with that, especially for what they were reared to believe that black people were. It was completely different, or they didn't even want to know if it was completely different, because if it was completely different, it would have shattered what they thought about themselves. So it is what it is. Not to tie into Eubank Senior and Eubank Junior, I've been trying to tell people this, and people may not realize this, but coming from old school parents, you can't just use someone's name and the platform that they built for you, and you keep fucking up. Sorry about the language, but you keep messing up. This kid always had the talent in the belief, not the talent, he had the talent in the tools to be good, very good. But for some weird reason, he wanted to be his own man, which is nothing wrong with that at all, but he didn't want to train and he didn't want to listen. Now you see him in novelty fights. He's getting stopped by guys that's a lot smaller than him. And you have to understand, you wear the Eubank name. You are the first child. You are on ITV stating that I want to try boxing, and your father vehemently opposed. So when you see him off the rails, coupled with the fact that he lost his second son, and you see this turmoil and everything. And this is a guy who did the best he could. I'm not saying you've been senior is perfect at all, but by no stretch of the imagination. But we have to see that these parents tried. Sometimes us kids, we keep messing things up intentionally sometimes, just to spite them. And sometimes it just it may work. You may be Roy Jones Jr., you may have the talent, the desire, and the drive, and the wherewithal to see it your own way. Then there's other people that just don't do it. There's a lot of boxing sons that are not as successful as their fathers. Buddy McGirt's son, Aaron Pryor son, all these guys. And some of those guys really trained their asses off. It just wasn't for them. You understand?
Yep.
You were actually somebody that could actually done something with your ability. But hey, you ducked the Nighty Golovkin. You still talk bad about Kell Brooks, but we saw how much of a charlatan you were. We saw that you didn't really want to train as hard as you needed to train. You didn't want to really go through the hard graft. You could have easily beat Billy Joe Saunders if you properly trained. You could have easily beaten George Groves if you properly trained. But you always found something not to do, and you out here not listening to somebody that's been in the fire, somebody that almost killed another talented boxer with his hands because he was getting beat up so bad. And you don't, and you discount these things. To see me, this is an avenue that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be a professional boxer. I wanted to get stuck in. I wanted to be a world champ. And I knew the people that got there, I have to listen to them. Or I have to at least take certain nuggets and certain pearls of wisdom to get me there and implement what I can do and make me be great on my own accord. It seems to me he just didn't want to do that. I know that's your father. I know you're your own man. I know familiarity breeds contempt. But come on, man. Like, he's right. You smacking dude with an egg. We understand. Oh, he said eggs was the reason why he popped hot. Whatever. But one thing about you, Vic, he's not going to do none of those things. He's going to do those things in the ring. Like, we can say Eubank Senior was kind of gimmicky, but in that ring he wasn't. In that ring, he was not. We got to call it what it is. For the people that he fought, he wasn't gimmicky. He wasn't gimmicky to Joe Calzaghe. He sure wasn't gimmicky to Nigel Benn twice. He wasn't gimmicky to Ray Close. He wasn't gimmicky to Gary Stretch. It is what it is, man. It's like I don't really feel sorry for Junior for this reason alone. When you didn't want to listen to your father, I think in the George Groves fight, I got off the bandwagon. I got off the bandwagon. You got dropped with a jab. You couldn't control the range. When you fought a world class operator, it showed your limitations. You couldn't walk George Jones down with the volume that you usually do because you had no jab, you had no outside game, and you didn't want to learn. All of this is his fault. And mind you, he's going to be an insolent child and everything like this. He's going to act like this doesn't affect him, but it does. It's just like one thing about Eubank Junior for how stubborn he is. It's like, yo, it hasn't gotten you anywhere.
So he's his own man, though, isn't he? Though, so Eubank Junior, like he just got to an age where it was probably suffocating him, the influence of his father. You don't see that, or you think he should just suck it up?
Totally respectable. But you remember, I don't know if it's at home with the Eubanks, that man tried to save him from the sport and the understanding that hey, there is work that you have to put in to be as great as I was. He didn't put in the work. At the end of the day, it's understanding it's your father's influence, but at least put in the work somewhere else. Don't always be at the gambling stops. Don't always living the celebrity life that your father afforded you. You wanted to be champ of the world. You wanted to carry on the Eubank legacy. This entails hard work. This entails hard work. I grew up middle class, right? You know how a lot of people say, "Oh, middle class people, oh, they can't fight. They don't come from the struggle."
Yeah, that's
Trust me,
different.
in that ring, I held my own. I'm not saying I was a world beater. In my mind, I was getting to it, but I held my own against anybody that I needed to hold my own against. People from Brooklyn, I held my own against. People from Long Island, I held my own against. And if there was somebody who had a skill gap on me, I still did the best that I can. But at the end of the day, I put in the work. Boxing's about putting in the work. That Eubank did not put in the work requisite for him to have all the stuff that he has in certain areas. Let me take that back. You can't say you haven't put in the work and he's won some type source of titles. I can't discount the work that he's put in, but the work that he was capable of putting in, from my vantage point, I don't think he put in. And when you see that and you saw eggs in people's face and everything, you see how angry he was. Uh, like you've been seen as a father, a Jamaican father. You know how they are. You see how things are. They look at you and they say like, at the end of the day, this is what I'm seeing. He said Karen was his ex-wife.
Yeah,
Him. You know how
mhm,
pissed off he was.
yeah,
Because you know why he's really pissed off? It's like you don't have to do this, and you're talented at doing this, but you do it in such a way that is so counterproductive. How do you go to Roy Jones Jr. knowing that you don't have the style for Roy Jones Jr. and everyone that Roy Jones Jr. trained, I love Roy, try to utilize his style, got absolutely decapitated. Even from the person in his last fight that he trained. Roy's a great fighter, but Roy's only going to teach you what he knows. He's one of those people. He's not one of those trainers that can mold you like a Manny Stewart, like a Customado, like a Eddie Futch. And it's all and it's and that's no knock on Roy Jones Jr. That's just what it is. But Eubank Jr. is gonna look back on his career with I think a handful of regret because the man could actually fight, and like Like it's sad that the Nick Blackwell fight is the most sterling example of that. It's sad that it really that you had to beat up a contender like that, but you couldn't replicate that on world level. It made no sense because yeah, even in Eubank Junior's lowly state, we never thought Liam Smith was ever going to do that to him. No,
Hey, listen, man. Like Eubank, he's made a lot of money. He's made a lot of money. He's won more fights than he's lost. He hasn't
that's
ended up
true.
like his uncle. Like his uncle Simon Eubank, he died from frontal lobe dementia. That's Harlan Eubanks' dad. You know what I mean? And Chris was talking about him like just took too much punishment. But you see what it was, yeah? When you're talking about Simon Eubank, you're talking about an era when boxers were really ate up by the system and put through the shredder. Merciless. It was merciless. Yeah? That's what we're talking
Very,
about there. And
very much.
see, the thing is, yeah, Chris knows all these stories because he's close with Harlem. He knows all these stories, and he's not going to go through that same thing. See, the thing is, yeah, when you're talking about senior, you're talking about a one-off who was able to fight 4 or 5 world championships a year. Most guys can't do that. Even if they weren't top contenders, most people can't do it. Like you end up with brain damage, bro. You'll end up with that frontal lobe dementia. You know what I mean? And like
You
Chris,
have done this.
Chris said to himself, "I'm not going to fight Johnny Beck and these guys for a couple of million, and I mean probably lose and get pummeled. You're going to take some easy money because he's gonna beat Conor Ben more than likely next week. Yeah, what do you reckon?"
Me too. I think you would. And I understand the Simon Eubank thing. I understand that, but he was a journeyman. He signed up for those fights. Because Eubank Senior was a British legend. He signed up for those fights. And you say this, if you have the talent, I don't care how much times they put you in that ring, you're gonna make them miss, you're gonna make them pay. You're gonna know how to survive. There's a lot of people from that back in those days that don't have frontal lobe dementia. You know why? They were fortunate enough to be talented enough to earn a living with their hands and be skilled enough to make it. Because let's look at it.
Chris, brother. There were a lot of talented boxers who ended up in the shredder. A lot of talented boxers. Yeah, it was just that. See, you're dealing with an era where there weren't the platforms like there were today. There weren't the opportunities. Yeah, that's what you're dealing with. A lot of boxers ended up in the shredder because it was just that tough a system. There's just no way around it. Like his other brother, Peter Eubank. Do you know he beat Barry McGuigan?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he beat Barry McGuigan. He beat Barry McGuigan. He put the first L on Barry McGuigan's record. And he was a good fighter, but you know,
He was
he was
deprived of a title shot.
he fights a lot of undefeated guys, and he just got ate up and beaten up, and just used for just like yeah. And you see, his brothers used to like give Senior a hard time, and like and push him. That's one of the reasons Senior was successful because of his brothers. But yeah, there were lots of talented boxers, Chris. Back then, it was a little different to you couldn't just put. See, the thing is, yeah, matchmaking that has been a proven formula to keep fighters unbeaten, get them into world title fights. These guys didn't have that. They
No, they
didn't have
had to.
that,
You had to fight killer upon killer. Like people fail to realize. Uh, Scrap the '80s, scrap the '90s, going all the way back to the '40s, '50s, '60s. Them guys. Sugar Ray Robinson fought guys early in his career. It's like 16th fight. Fought guys that were like 128, one, and stupid amount of knockouts. And he had to fight those guys who all his way up. No tune up, no nothing. You fight guys like that when you're about to become a contender, a world champion, or what have you. These guys have to fight real fighters early in their career. And if you were fortunate of getting the treatment to be catered as a star, you still have to fight people. Like, think about it. Earl Christie had to fight Jose Says. A lot of people thought Earl Christie was going to run to Jose Says. What happened? He got stopped. Never was the same ever again.
First round.
First round, yes. And Harold Graham fights him a couple weeks later. That was just the system. And Chris Eubank Senior knew that. Chris Eubank Senior knew Simon and Peter went through a lot of shit and pushed him to damn near the brink at times. And he didn't want that for his son because he knew that his son wasn't going to be able to follow the program like that. Especially out of I'm the brother that they gave the most stick to, but the most successful. I was the one who had to make sure these guys were okay because they took such gargantuan punishment, such unholy punishment. So, and you can see he tried to stop his kid every time. His kid, to his credit, was good enough to get in that ring. But it's just like, I understand it's suffocating, but certain people have to understand this is this is how they
Chris,
know
Chris,
how
Chris,
to train.
Chris, Chris, I just got to read out a couple of
Do your thing.
big up Tony said, "Yo, what's up, beats? I'm visiting my pal who lives in Tottenham. I got a bus from Seven Sisters to Bruce Groves to visit a pal. I felt like Nigel Farage. I'm now conditioned to living in a white middle class area. Hey, well, listen, once you go, once you leave them hood environments, it is hard to go back. It's very hard to go back. Definitely, it's hard to go back. You know, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you should be down with your area, down with the ends." Yeah, yeah. Listen, one black person's way of living isn't for all. I mean, some black people need to know that not all people are gonna do what you're doing and live the way you're going, or live where you want to live or how you want to live, or what I mean, is what it is.
You may not
Abdul,
want to hear this. Oh,
sorry, Abdul. He says women wear the trousers nowadays. Women pay the bills, work, and protect the family. A lot of divorce nowadays. Yeah, yeah. Like back then, yeah, a lot of kids didn't get into crime. I'm talking about boys because they were just scared of their dads. I think I was one of them partly. They were just scared of their old men, so they didn't get into it. But these days, there's no deterrent. There is no fear. And see what a lot of women, and I'm not coming down on women, but they don't understand the male psyche. They don't get it. They think, oh, we can do peaceful parenting and we'll get through to these boys. No, 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 no. Sometimes the old man has got to come down with the heavy-handed approach and put the boy
I
in his
can tell.
place.
I can tell you. I can count on my hands.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Sometimes the big man has to come in with a heavy-handed approach, put the boy in his place, and let him know there are consequences for your actions. Yeah. Don't worry about what mummy's saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Yeah. Because the little bit I'm roughing you up is going to be nothing to what you get in prison or when you get on the wrong end of the street. It's going to be nothing. And a lot of boys are not getting that. That's why a lot of boys are just very soft. Yeah. Abdul, he says mixed race marriage does work in broken household. I don't understand what you're saying there. Try and write again. Tom said, I go back to the area where I grew up and it's changed. Some people would say for the better, some for the worse. Yeah, it's that gentrification. You know what I mean? Oh, he's saying mixed race marriage doesn't work. And high divorce rates, money always the problem. Abdul Rahim. How do you know Well, I've heard people say that, but then again, I know people of all different ethnicities in marriages and relationships. I don't know what kind of marriage doesn't work. What kind of marriage does work then? You know what I mean? I don't know if that's true what you're saying. I don't know. Um, big up Tone, big up I'm Untouchable. There's another super chat here actually. Big them up. Reality of the pencil, big yourself up. Much appreciated for the super chat. Said it's been a pleasure. Let me jump out. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. You know what I mean? All right, Chris, what you got?
To finish up what you were saying, I can remember there was I can count on my hands the times that my dad had to, speak to me in that way that he was speaking to. And, I've never strayed. I've never been a criminal. I have logic and I'm not one to just, just act out of sorts because my mom and dad reared and instilled in me that there is consequences for your actions. There's ramifications for the things that you do. Nothing is victimless, and you better stop effing around because it will get ugly if you don't stop. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. I understand, bro. I understand. I understand. I understand.
But just to finish up my Eubank Junior post rant, I like the kid. I like the kid. I want the kid to do well. But you, if you carry this man's namesake, you're his junior, and you were the first. And he warned you about what you needed to do. You were able to do it until you got tired and you wanted to set up shop for your own self, which was great. But as you can see, the lack of discipline and the lack of a training setup, and you weren't able to really, you know, do what you were intended to do because there was no way that you should have struggled with some of the people that you struggled with. Even in his wins, Matt Korobov, the real reason why he didn't win a world title is because he was super duper injury prone for a long amateur career. And he did get robbed against Jamal Charlo. But he was embarrassing you. If it wasn't for him being injured, you would have lost that fight. And these were fights that you should have won. Like when Senior is seeing the thing, this is an amalgamation of everything that he's been watching his son become, and it's his son's life. He can live his life however see fits. You understand?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you mess it up like that, and you are enjoying the spoils of war because of your last name, I think he has the right to be mad. But calling him a disgrace in front of these people on certain media platforms, calling him a charlatan, that's not gonna too much endear him to that, because now of course, Eubank Junior is very emotional and very sour in regards to how him and his dad are interacting with each other. If he wants to lie, he can lie to himself. We see it, which is sad. No one wants to see see anybody in any familial strife. But
But let
it's
me
just
tell
what
you
it is.
something. Let me tell you something, man. This is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying. Because despite your wisdom, Chris, you're still young. Still young. You know what I mean? Right? Parents of the old
I
school called their kids a lot worse and handled their kids a lot worse than that. And these kids still survived. And kids these days, look, they are soft. They are soft. They are soft. They are soft. Like, yeah, okay, he said you're a charlatan. He agreed with Simon. And yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. But look how much he's benefited of his own man. Like,
That's what I'm trying to say. And
hit
and,
start.
and I agree with you. A lot of these kids are soft. Why do you think they act out? Why do you think some of these kids?
Sorry, Chris. Let's cut you. But he called him a disgrace because he attacked an opponent. That's not the Warriors code that Senior taught him. He's going completely against the code. Completely. So he said, you're a disgrace for that. If you watch them old kung fu flicks, you know what I mean? Like the teachers, you know what I mean? You get the dojo or whatever they call it. And like, yeah, you had to abide by the code. You have to abide by the code. That's what that's about. And like he's going his own way, which he's entitled to do. But Chris, like Senior, he's gonna voice like his disapproval. He doesn't like the fight, although he himself jumped up from super mid all the way to cruiser. So he's saying there's rules and that welterweights fight welter. Well, you fought Carl Thompson twice. You know what
And
I
he
mean?
knocked down Carl Thompson. He gave Carl Thompson all types of fits when they first fought.
Yeah, man.
And I agree with what you're saying. What you're saying is 100% facts. A lot of these kids are soft, but at the end of the day, it's just like you don't do some of the things that some of these kids are doing. You don't do that, but it's like I'd rather you call him. I'd rather you say that, but like on a public platform like that, I understand it. I understand what you're saying is 100% fact. The stories of my household are hearing how they grew up. I could never imagine growing up the way that certain people in my family grew up. But it made them it made them who they are. It made them as
And see, the
successful
thing
as
is,
they
like,
are.
Eubank need guys like Young Strickland. He fought from featherweight all the way up to near heavyweight. William Strickland, yeah. Like Sam Langford, he fought from lightweight against did he fight Joe Gans? He fought Jack Blackburn. Yeah, he fought everybody, man.
I think
He
he
fought
fought back everybody. And Blackburn, Jack Blackburn, gave him hell.
Philadelphia O'Brien at 160, Barbados Demon, Joe Walker at 147, um, Stanley Ketchel at 160, Philadelphia O'Brien at 175, Jack Johnson, Joe Jeanette at heavyweight. All like, come on, man. So he, I don't know with that argument about the weights. It don't really hold up. Although Connor Connor could beat him, because Chris is pretty. The only reason I give Chris the win is because he's bigger. Chris is pretty limited.
Yep, yep. That's what his father was trying to avoid. Because because on the front foot, Chris not really that good. Like
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not that good. He's not that good. Not that good. He's decent, but he's not that. He's a decent fighter. But he's not that. Like I'm telling you, man. Telling you, if Liam Smith can breach his defenses like that, if Connor shows any like that potential when he was taking people out before he popped, I know Eubanks is a lot bigger, but how will Eubanks stop him from getting through with combinations?
he won't. If that's the case, he won't. And it seems like Connor is very defensive, minded these days. Outside of the Cedric Payne fight and everything, he just got his defenses up and everything. And one thing about Connor, irrespective of the popping hot and being dirty, this is someone who is very dedicated and loves his craft. He doesn't play around with it. He really does what he's supposed to do in that ring for him and his style. And he always is willing to learn. Do I think he beats a guy like Boots Ennis if he were to ever go down to 47 or 54? Absolutely not. But do I think he would give Boots Ennis hell on earth if Boots Ennis is lackadaisical? Yes. One thing about Connor, he's a guy that tries his ass off. And that's why, you're not going to really hear too much bad things about Connor because Connor is someone who's serious about his craft. All Eubank Junior, a senior, ever wanted Junior to do is be serious about his craft. That's it.
boy, if Connor knocks him out, Connor becomes an overnight star over here. He'll be able to like
Yes.
just write his checks, put any number on them and get them. If he wins in style, you know what I mean? Like, see, if Chris beats Connor, it'll be a great win for him, but it doesn't really advance him as a middleweight as such. Um, cause he's the bigger guy. But if Connor beats the bigger guy, then yeah, they're really going to be looking at that win. They're really going to be looking at.
Like Jay said, if I shoot you, I'm brainless. If you shoot me, then you're famous. What's a nigga to do?
Yeah, indeed.
This, but this fight should have never happened because, in my opinion, this is what I'm going back to. I see what Eubank Senior is talking about. You had too many great opportunities at 60. Like, objectively speaking, Beats, I remember you were watching. Did you do a hangout for Billy Joe Saunders versus Chris Eubank?
No, no, probably not.
I know you were watching that fight. So, like, if this kid just got it together, he would have been able to beat this guy. This guy, as squirrely as he is, has terrible piss poor stamina, and he has very good boxing skills. Don't get me wrong. When Billy Joe Saunders was active and when he was on point, very good boxer, very slick, could really, really, shut you down defensively and cause you fits and he take you out if you got caught with the right shot by him. But he shouldn't have lost that fight, in my opinion, because it just set the blueprint for people to say, "Oh, you can't handle a guy with a good jab and good movement." And
Man,
coupled with the
that
fact
man was throwing Street Fighter uppercuts, man. And then in the second half, he came into it a bit more, but he's just not that good. What his problem is, he's just not that good a boxer. He's just not good on the fundamentals like that. And like when he fights Connor, his range control early has to be on point because like a lot of people they're underestimating the hand speed that Connor has on that overhand right. It's very fast, man. It's a very fast shot. And if you can
he's a
maneuver with the feints, couple of foot feints, oh, you'll shake you to your core because it won't be because he's a big man. He's a small dude. It's the speed of the shot. With a lot of smaller dudes fighting bigger guys, it's the speed of the shot. He's got to be
that is
careful.
that is a fact, man. One thing about Connor, he is fast. He is fast. But if Eubank is trained properly and if Eubank is incentivized by all this, Connor's in for a beating.
Yeah, he's like, let's face it, man. Like behind a long jab, he's supposed to like be
He's
able to
supposed to
do
break him
everything.
down.
Long jab, uppercuts, catching with uppercuts coming in. But that depends. Like because Connor, he's going to be moving. He'll definitely be moving his head. He'll be able to keep up the head movement for a little. As long as he ain't getting punched too bad, he'll be able to keep up the upper body and the head movement for a little while.
That is
Because
true, but
people are looking at the other two fights he had recently. They like to me, them fights. He wasn't training. I'm not making excuses for him, but he wasn't 100% in it. His mind was all over the place because of the situation with the clomiphene. This is a different Conor Benn. This is a different Conor
yeah,
Benn.
yeah, and I see it in the vignettes that Matchroom was putting out. But it also shows you that Conor Ben fighting bigger guys may not have that power, that destructive power that he has at 47, coming up to like 54, because that Mexican guy he looked real good against. Couldn't get him out for worth a spit. And Peter Dobson gave Conor Ben some real trouble, man. So objectively speaking, with Conor, you know, I have to see to believe it with him at that weight class.
Yeah,
And
if Chris can't beat Conor, then yeah, I mean it's not a good
he
look for him.
not he no
It's
he
not a
needs
good
to
look.
retire. He needs to retire. He needs to retire. This is now due to how Eubank Senior has been, talking about him. This is now, you may think Chris Eubank doesn't gain anything from this. This might be the most ultimate confidence boost that he may ever get, you know? And because you have to take confidence from these things. So, because you've been heard that you're a charlatan, you've been heard that you're this, that, the third. If you can get it together, who knows? He might just go on a run, which is highly unlikely. But maybe it just brings solace to him and everything. But man, it's always good talking to you, Beats. I'm about to head out. Okay,
All right, peace.
peace and thank you as always.
No problem, man. No problem. No problem. Indeed, Chris Eubank is not the British Boxing Board Control. He is not VADA. He is not UCAD. He doesn't get to to question Conor Benn. That's not his job. And here's the thing, man. Like this, like I saw somebody uploading the other day that Conor Benn is hiding details, and because what I mean, you know what it is, yeah, with YouTube these days, yeah. I have no problem if another channel or somebody asks me a question, yeah, a legit question, not no stupidness, and to answer them. Like if you're saying Chris is hiding something, what are you suggesting he's hiding? You can't say he's hiding something, and you can't suggest what it is that he's hiding. What do you think it is? What are you saying he is hiding? And what are you saying that he has to do to prove he's cleared? Are you saying opening up his documents to the public, right, proves his innocence more than going to UCAD, which he's done, the British Boxing Board of Control, which he's done, the National Anti-Doping Panel? What? All the people who are saying that Chris is hiding, that Conor is hiding, and he's not sharing the details of how he got cleared. Which one of you in the public does he need to speak to specifically? You need to talk to all of you to prove it? What is it you want to see? Can you specify what you actually want to see? Do you know what you're looking for? Just be out of curiosity. I mean, if anyone's in the chat, what's it? Tell me what is your experience of dealing with PED violators? Just be interested. It's just weird. That is weird to me. That is weird. Even the British Boxing Board of Control have licensed him. They've licensed him. They've licensed him, but you're still questioning Conor if he's legit to fight. Shouldn't your beef or your gripe be with the British Boxing Board of Control? Ask them why they've licensed him. And they're going to tell you that they're bound by confidentiality. As would Tyson Fury. If you ask him about his case, I'm bound by confidentiality. I agreed to take liability for the violation, but that comes with confidentiality. That's weird. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. And you know what that is? That's a byproduct. That's a byproduct of the internet making people think they're really important. You know, let me go on to the Ministry of Defense and ask them why they're invading such and such a country. Really? Now I know you can't compare the two, but you get what I'm saying? What is he hiding? Tell me what he's hiding. You're saying he's hiding details. What details is it you think he's hiding that could incriminate him or vindicate him? What is it? Weird. Them videos are weird, man. Videos are weird. Right. Don't see no comments no more. I think that you guys are running out of comments, so it's probably getting a bit dry. Tone said getting a shot without the machine behind you was and still is a big is to and still is to a point virtually impossible. Less belts and it was a close shot for some promoters. Yeah, especially you see in the UK, man. Like when the cartel had their run, man. Like I can't remember the number, but it was a huge number, way over 200 or whatever shows on the BBC, and they got all the contracts. They got all the TV money. And I think out of the 200 plus shows, it was way over 200 shows. There were 4 shows that was split between Frank and Barry Hearn. Frank got 2 and Barry got. I know one of the shows Frank did. I couldn't find the other one, and I couldn't find Barry's shows. They got 4 out of them 200 shows. All the promoters got shut out. Yeah, all of them got shut out. People don't understand how messed up British boxing was just a few years back. When I say a few years, contemporary history, yeah, I'm talking about 80s and 70s. Like who's Ken Buchanan's manager again? Eddie Thomas. I believe it was Eddie Thomas. Ken Buchanan, Scottishman, world champion. He couldn't defend his title in the UK because the British Boxing Board of Control didn't recognise the WBA. He did hold the WBC title briefly. Then he didn't have it. He couldn't defend his belt in Britain, right? Because they didn't recognise the WBA. And then because he was managed by Eddie Thomas and he wasn't hooked up with the cartel, with Jarvis, with Mike Barrett, or with Mickey Duff, who ran British boxing, he couldn't get on Wembley Arena or Royal Albert Hall because they had all them venues locked. And if you weren't fighting on them venues, you couldn't get on television and you couldn't make no serious money. And members of the British Boxing Board of Control approached fighters like Ken Buchanan and told them you'd be better off joining the cartel and getting rid of your manager. And this was a regular practice. This is what the British Boxing Board of Control were doing. There was a middleweight. I can't remember what part of the country he was from, but he wasn't from London. And they did used to discriminate against fighters outside London. Like for getting opportunities to fight on Sports Night or on BBC One. Yeah, there was discrimination because I think his name was Johnny Pritchett. I can't remember what part of the country he lived in. And there was also a London middleweight named Mark Rowe. Now, my brethren, Alex, his dad, Bunny Sterling, beat Mark Rowe for the British 160-pound title in the 70s. But they were trying to push Mark Rowe incessantly, like they were really trying to push him. And Pritchett couldn't get a fight with Rowe, and and he retired. He had 1 loss in 30 plus fights. He retired because he couldn't get no opportunities. It was really bad. It was really bad. It was really bad. It was really bad. And like the British Boxing Board of Control, it used to be a voting system for the members to get in. And I believe it was the cartel who changed the system. They helped change the system of the British Boxing Board of Control. And like the officials became self-appointed. So much corruption. The black guy, can't remember his name. He was talking about how he'd be overseas. And Jarvis Astaire from the cartel will say, "Well, I'll talk for the British Boxing Board of Control." Yeah, that's the promoter. I'll talk for the British. And this happened on several occasions. They said, "Well, we could talk for the British Boxing Board of Control." It was really corrupt. For promoters and fighters, it was so corrupt. People wouldn't even believe how corrupt it was. Then you hear people like even today talking about how the British Boxing Board of Control and their integrity compared to all these other commissions and boards. You're thinking this is an absolute joke. Absolute. Look what they done to TKV the other day. How do you win by disqualification and end up with a stoppage loss on your record and no title? And your opponent ends up with a stoppage win on his record and the belt. That was just and like, oh, we gave them a rematch. Really? What else was you gonna do? You give him a rematch. It's crazy. Root SK could be because Senior jumped up in weight. He is speaking from experience and hence he has the stance that he has now. Yeah, but it's nothing new. It's nothing new, bro. Jumping up in weight is nothing new. Yeah? Tommy Lauren. Is it Tommy Loughran? Former light heavyweight champion. He fought Primo Carnera, I believe, for the heavyweight title. There was at least an 80-pound weight difference. And David Hay had a similar weight difference when he fought Valueth. You know what I mean? Floyd Patterson was the Olympic middleweight champion. He ended up becoming heavyweight champion. And Jimmy Ellis, Ali's sparring partner, he was a middleweight. Didn't he lose to Hurricane Carter? He was a really good middleweight. Moved up to heavy. Yeah. So I think these days, like, oh, you can't fight this guy. Like Terence Crawford fighting Canelo. Yeah, look, Canelo's going to be a favorite because he's a naturally climatized fighter to 168. Of course, he'd be the favorite, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Crawford can challenge this guy in terms of reach and height. That's crazy. Sean Porter beat Alexander Usyk in the amateurs. So I don't know. It seems like people have put limits on what boxers can do. They put limits on them that weren't previously there. And in saying that, yeah, Eubank moved up to cruiser and fought Carl Thompson twice. He nearly beat him the first time. He had Carl Thompson in all sorts of issues. Several times he hurt Carl Thompson. And it was a close fight. Second time around, still a good fight, but he got his eye swollen up and got stopped. Yeah, man. So boxing's changed a lot, man. It's changed a lot. I remember back in the day when Matthew Saad Muhammad fought Ronaldo Snipes, jumped up from 175 and fought a full-blown Ronaldo Snipes. He lost on points, but he gave it a good effort. And that was regular. And then, like Chris, he started talking about how he fought in the first super middleweight title fight when he fought Michael Watson. And you didn't fight in the first middleweight title fight. You didn't super middleweight title fight. The first middleweight title fight was in 1984. I'm doing this off the top of the head when Murray Sutherland beat Ernie Singleton for the IBF super middleweight title fight. Yeah. Didn't Tommy Hearns fight for that WBO title at 168 first? Didn't that go vacant? Didn't he beat James Kinchin for that belt? You go look it up, man. So he's all about, and like he was trying to blackmail, emotionally blackmail his son with the tears. I was like, wow, that's deep. Can't keep controlling your son, or you could like, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. Got to let it go. Is what you mean. There's time and a place that you've got to let that go. And it's easy for me to say that because he's not my son, but bloody hell, it's a bit suffocating. It's not like he's freeloading off Senior, walking around his boxes in front of Senior's wife. Or no, he's got his own place. He's doing his own thing. Flipping hell. You know, apart from the egg, which I didn't think that. Should be proud of his son to a degree. Should be a little more proud of his son. I understand the argument that his son is living off him, but he is your son. He is your son. It'd be moronic if he didn't try and extract some of the connection to his dad. I mean, like, who would do that? I wouldn't do that. I mean, if I was able to monetize my connection to a famous, what do you want him to do? Live in Peckham with the man then? UK drilling it? Nah, bro. Let me just have a quick look. Right, okay. So what belt did Tommy fight for? Did he fight for the IBF? At 168. What are they talking about? Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's better. That's better. Yeah, Tommy Hearns. Yeah. You weren't the first to fight for that belt. I was right. Tommy Hearns versus James Kinchin, 1988. I remember watching it. And then Tommy fought Sugar Ray Leonard. So he wasn't the first. You the fourth. Yeah. And the first, yeah, like I was saying, Murray Sutherland. So you're all about the place. Like Duke McKenzie as well. Always getting like the fights and the dates all jumbled up and like all the timelines and like you don't expect someone to get it bang on the timeline, but just way off, man. Yeah, man. What's the time? I'll do 2 hours. I think I have a couple of hours left to play with until the 24th if I do that. It's nearly 2 hours already. Time flies, bro. Time flies. Time flies. Time flies. Time flies. Hey, people. 2 hours is long enough. I need a little time if I got to jump on the weekend at some stage. So. I might staying on longer though. Flipping out. Where's the YouTube feed going? But yeah, look, man. To Untouchable earlier, I wasn't having a go at you, but you can't know everything if you don't live in Chris's household. You can't know everything. You know what I mean? And the bottom line is we're all damaged by events, home events, and like it's mostly with people who are not intentionally trying to hurt us, but they're not perfect and life ain't perfect. Chris Jr. is okay. He's okay. Kieran speaking about the house he's got in Dubai. I can imagine. Imagine the one he had in London wasn't too bad either. Yeah? Or in England. He's okay, bro. He's okay. That's why people work hard. So they're not bound by their trauma. They can move on with their trauma. Money doesn't buy you an escape out of all your trauma, but it sure don't flipping hurt. You know what I mean? People who suffer trauma are the ones who can't afford or can't see no way out to change their environment. So they're walking in the same trauma every day in, day out, day in, day out. Kids like Chris, they're not bound by that. He's in Vegas. He's with Roy Jones training. He's with Jonathan Banks. The other week, who was he with? He was with Terrence's guy. What's his name again? Bo Matt. Living a great life. He travels a lot. Don't have the same trauma, bro. Doesn't have the same trauma as a lot of kids who have had broken or fractured relationships with their parents. He doesn't have it. Trust me. Trust me, he doesn't have it. Just keeping it real with you, bro. I have to keep it real. I have to keep it real. You know, I've seen some like people I'm close to going back into trauma-filled environments. And I'm saying, why are you going back there? Why don't you just like make the jump? Don't stop going back. Whether it's family or ex-girl or a certain set of friends, stop going back there. Stop. But some people are perpetual victims, like Beanie Siegel. You're on Rockefeller Records, making great records, doing your thing. Then you go back to wherever in Philly and get shot. But he's learned. He's got his food truck now. Like he's with his family. Doesn't hang around with that same crap. It took him a little time to learn. How is that Floyd Schofield Jr. asking for 2.5 to fight Abdullah Mason? American boxing has gone absolutely nuts. You pull out of that Shakur Stevenson fight, and now you want 2.5 million to fight Abdullah Mason. Who put him up to that? It must be Oscar. I have to go like research that story. That's the first story I want to do. Who are you to ask for 2.5 million? Now, fair enough. I understand being all audacious like they are today, but 2.5 million. We know that fight's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. You know something, Eubanks? Who have I got? Liam versus Benn. I did pick Benn the other day, but I was listening to October Red, and Sonny Edwards kind of shook me up a little. Sonny Edwards kind of shook me up with his analysis of the fight. He kind of shook me up. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. It's got me thinking again. Could be another Liam Cameron win, but I've already picked Ben Whittaker. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's what you said about the Sheffield connection. See, the Sheffield kids, they know how to fight reflex fighters. They know how to fight them. They know how to track their movement down. They know how to double jab them, the reflex guys. If you can use the double jab well on the reflex guys, triple up your punches, keep your shape. It's going to be a difficult fight for Ben Whittaker. It's going to be a difficult fight. Guzzy said, I need to listen to that Sonny interview. Sounds interesting. Good interview in October. I was like, phew. And he was bang on. He wasn't having it. Like, you could see. He was like very assertive about how good Ben's opponent, Liam Cameron, he was very assertive. Very assertive. So it got me thinking. Ulick said, I don't think Ben has any pop. But how much pop does Liam have? And that could be a big problem for Ben Whittaker, though, is the pop. You need to at least steady your opponent. Got to be at least able to steady them. All right, people. Peace out.